Well, hi, Lisa, and thank you, Lisa, Steve, the entire team of Weaver Dive Center and Dreamweaver, and thank you, everybody, for joining in. I'm ready to start, Lisa?
Yep, we're ready when you are.
Okay, great. And you can't see me, right? You can only hear me?
We can actually see you.
Oh, no. Okay, I'll try to.
So don't pick your teeth or your nose.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to start with this image, which is obviously done by an artist because it's not easy to capture our island in one image or one graphic, but we hope we did a good job of showing our beauty above and below and a little bit about our dive center. Let me begin with this. So this is a obviously fantastic aerial shot done on a beautiful day, and that's the kind of weather we're having right now. The title of my show is What Makes Saba So Distinctively Different, Diverse, and Delightful. Kind of a mouthful, but it is what we're going to talk about. So we like to start with what we don't have, because we are not a typical island. So this picture, not exactly beautiful, but that is the picture of, not only do we not have any traffic lights, this is the only stop sign on the island. And it's located in the village of the bottom in front of the governor's house. As we don't have crime, I didn't really have a picture to show you of crime or no crime, so I picked an image of a church. This is one of 10 churches on the island. It's a Christian island. There's Catholic churches, Anglican churches, Church of God Holiness. So we have 10 churches on a 5 square mile island, which I also like to say means we have a lot of hypocrites. Hope no one's offended by that. We also, I say no pesty insects, so no irritating, no CMs or mosquitoes. And this is showing you some images of our outdoor dining. This is the Bird's Nest at Queen's Gardens Resort. And this is a lovely lunchtime setting at what was Shearwater Resort. So as we move forward, I'm going to explain some of why our island is what it is. So this is showing our dramatic coastline. As we say, it's a blessing. It also shows that water runs downhill. So another reason we don't have mosquitoes. When I say we have a dramatic coastline, we have several images, but here's one. This is Wells Bay, Torrance Point with Diamond Rock in the background. And what else don't we have? Well, we don't have chain restaurants. So we have great coffee, but we don't have Starbucks. And we don't have cruise ships. And therefore, as a nice small island, we also don't have corruption. We have a democratically elected executive council with the governor elected or appointed by the King of Holland. And I've lived here 30 years, and the guys in charge I've known since they were little kids and teenagers. And I can WhatsApp them, I have direct contact with them, but they don't ask for money, and that is very unusual for most places where we have wonderful tourism. So you might have heard and might have gathered by these images that, geez, where's the beach? Well, I'm going to explain to you why you're not going to miss the beach. And this is a nice drone shot with one of our boats. And here's another great village shot. So Saba really consists of 4 villages. By the way, Lisa has been here. If you know Jane at Weavers and Steve, they've all been to Saba. So they have firsthand knowledge of why this island is not your typical Caribbean island.
Love it.
Sorry?
I love it.
Thank you. And so yeah, back to that. We have 4 main villages. So this is the village of the bottom. The bottom is actually 1,000 feet above sea level. Nice shot with the rainbow. This is the village of Windward Side, where I am sitting right now. You might notice some consistency here that every building has a red roof. So the kind of unofficial zoning is that you have a white house or building with a red roof and green shutters. My house is even located there. And we've only had roads since the 1960s, and before that they were footpaths and hiking trails, and now those footpaths are hiking trails, so you're on historical trails and they connect the various villages. The center photo there is the village of St. John's, where our kids' school is. So they have a pretty nice view from those classrooms. And this is just to show you that this is a typical walkway that they built before we had roads, not thinking that you'd have to fit a car on it. But we're trying to show you also that it's quaint, it's charming, but at the same time, I want to explain that it's not backward. We have high-speed Wi-Fi throughout the island, easy to access, but yet we've maintained our old world charm and a real sense of community. So these are images of just village shots, also just to show you that it's not the type of island where you had to look hard to find a few nice photographs. The views, the photos are everywhere. The bottom right is the inside of our little museum, because this is what a typical Saba home would look like. And unlike some islands, the photographic opportunities are not just underwater, but also above. Before we get into the diving, I want to explain what makes the island special topside. We have 7 different eco zones or climate zones. So starting at sea level, it's rocky desert tide pools and areas like this with really dramatic coastline. As we go further up the island, we see evidence of Saba's we would call it violent birth, with volcanic eruptions and these giant boulders everywhere. And the higher and higher we go, the lesser it goes. So right now I'm at about 1,400 feet above sea level in the village of Windward Side. And at this level, we are at rainforest level. And we can go higher to the top of our trails, and that is a beautiful cloud forest that is dripping, not just in clouds oftentimes, but epiphytes, orchids, bromelia. It's just pretty stunning stuff. So there are photographic opportunities just outside your door. I travel extensively myself, and sometimes it's kind of irritating that, to go see what you saw in a brochure or online requires an excursion and an expense, and you have to make all these arrangements. And this is a difference on Saba, is that the access to hiking, nature, and photographic opportunities is really right outside your door, no matter what hotel you stay at or rental house or just walking around on your own. We also have great bird life. If you know anything about birding, you have generally a greater variety of birds on a bigger island. So we are quite a small island. So considering we have 50 species of birds you can see, that's also an example of our biodiversity, but also our environmental protection. We have a few reptiles. So this is a juvenile iguana. So that's kind of a teenager. They're even brighter green when they're younger. And we have 2 different species of iguanas. We have our own frog, which is actually an invasive species, but it's from about 200 years ago, but makes a beautiful sound. Maybe you can even hear it right now. We have a very safe, non-poisonous snake, 5 species of bats, and beautiful insects, and anoles, geckos, 5 different species of those. To explain a little further of what makes Saba special is, again, going back to the non-corruption part. So the gentleman in this photograph on the far right, that's Bruce Zagers, our commissioner. On the left is my neighbor, Chris Johnson. And I knew Bruce since when I moved here, he was 5 years old and Chris was 15. Yeah, that makes me old. But what's cool is they're in charge, and they were educated in the United States. They are bright, but they are also 7th, 9th generation Sabans with their own children now. They grew up as the Saba Conservation Foundation being part of their growing years, and they believe in protecting the environment. So one of the first things these guys did when they were in office, they said they were going to move our power plant. I never thought it would happen in my lifetime, but they did. It used to be at the seashore, and it was diesel generating, and now the diesel generators are just backup, and that is solar panels on the roof. And since that time, there's now a solar park. You can see it to the right of our runway, and there's a second solar park in another village. And this makes us 75% solar, going more towards 90. So for the most part, we run on solar except when there's an issue. So that's pretty cool. Another thing they did was introduce recycling. The Dutch put in a $7 million recycling plant for an island of 5 square miles and 2,000 people. And we're now in phase 2 of that because they encountered some issues, so they're even making those improvements. Our same government with the Dutch signed into effect a marine mammal and shark sanctuary for the island of Saba and our neighboring islands. So our big animals are protected indefinitely. So these are things we're very proud of. And for you as the consumer, it has a great, it translates to great things for you as a diver. So Saba has been protected since diving was discovered in the early 80s. And I'm going to explain how that came about and why it's important for you as a diver, but also on a worldwide basis. So let's talk about why we have some great diving here. And here's another aerial shot. Just to explain a little bit, that's the airport runway you can see in front of you, and that is the world's smallest international runway. When you go up the road, you first go to the village of Hell's Gate. The next village you can see in that little saddle area is Windward Side, and the other 2 villages are as you go on the road to the other side of the island where our harbor is. So why is the Saba Marine Park successful and why is it important to others? Well, we use this nice bait ball image as a backdrop to explain. So they discovered diving in the early 80s and they said, we need to protect this, and how should we do that? Well, they came up with a zoning plan so that there are areas that are absolutely protected, no use whatsoever other than going diving or snorkeling. The green area on the right side of the island is what is considered multi-use. So they didn't take away the heritage and the culture of the island people. Therefore, they support it. But what does that mean? That means on a nice day, because that's our windward side. So on a lot of days, you can't go over there in a small boat. But on a nice day, a family can go out in their boat and go fishing sustainably. Hand lines or a fishing pole, but not degrading type of fishing. So the important things are that this protection was set up before there was real diving tourism. The locals were involved in the zoning plan, and therefore they embrace it and they respect it, and they understand it's also for their own good. They also understand that it's helping the commercial fishermen as well as the tourists on the island and tourism related businesses. The difference of having a small island, because we know there's some marine parks in the world that don't really function so well, but a difference on Saba is that the rules are enforced. And that's because we're self-policing. Every boat owner, every dive shop, every dive instructor knows which boats belong to Saba and which boats would be recognized as, hey, who's that? And by doing so, one phone call, one radio call could be like, hey, who's that? Make sure you get out there and explain the rules, or we just go and blow up the boat. You need to make sure you're paying attention. The other big difference with our park is that there's real education of our, not just our visiting tourists, but also our local community. The Saba Marine Park has, I don't know, 9 full-time employees now, and one of those is an education officer. There are 4 different after-school programs, and it's also within the school regular classes about what it means to protect our island and why it's important. And now I'm going to take a sip of water. those of you who haven't had a warm water diving fix in a while, I hope that made you feel good. I'm going to talk a little bit about what makes Saba's dive sites so different and not your typical Caribbean dive sites. So showing you that we have a dramatic coastline. That coastline is pretty incredible. This is a graphic created by the Dutch Navy to show how dramatic our drop-offs are. So the pink and red area is considered the recreational dive zone. So the darker pink would be at 120 to 140 feet. And as you can see, it drops off to the abyss. And this is the furthest text on the right is the Fort Bay. That is our harbor, the island's only harbor. And then the other areas are different dive areas. Of course, we dive all around the island, but this is showing you one area that they mapped how abruptly the coastline drops off. And what does that mean for you? That means 2 minutes out by boat, we are in over 1,000 feet of water. And geologists think that the pinnacles and these other areas where you can see the spires, that they were actually part of the island at one time. And now they are submerged. Some of those sites start at 80 to 85 feet. So it also means because of that great depth, we have larger fish life, untouched reefs, and quite interesting things. So let's carry on. We also have great shallow sites and different things. So yeah, not only garden eels, but you see the different colored sand there. This is evidence of our not so distinct or extinct volcano. And we have some hot areas. So we have an area called Hot Springs where we still have warm sand. And this is the type of reefs and marine life and colors you can expect on our sites. This is our iconic site called the Needle. And it starts at 85 feet, goes to the depths of, better not get any sand in your boots there. And it's only about 25 feet in diameter, so very cool. We also have areas where we can guarantee large tarpon. And the tarpon are as big as me. And if you know anything about tarpon, they are territorial. And they will live till they're like 60 years old. So kind of cool when you're out there thinking that they might recognize you as much as you recognize them. If you dive any site on Saba, it's pretty hard not to see a turtle. We have hawksbill and green turtles, and they are very much in abundance. Scientists tell us that Saba is a critical juvenile feeding ground. So somehow they know that this is a safe haven. So a lot of our turtles are between 3 and 8 years old, knowing that this is a great place until they're sexually mature and head back to their nesting sites. We have numerous sharks, enough that my crew would not even mention to me if they saw sharks one day. So we are part of a Dutch shark research study. We log what type of shark we see where, and we commonly see nurse sharks, Caribbean reef sharks, blacktips, and we are more regularly seeing tiger sharks and hammerheads. And the more research that's done on the Saba Bank, which is our fishing ground area, we have 10 different species of sharks out there, including silkies and loads of tigers. So lots of great stuff. We're all about reasonable expectations. So we do occasionally see manta rays. More often we would see an eagle ray, and regularly we see stingrays. So they're out there, but I wouldn't guarantee the first two on every dive. For the photographers, rest assured we have fantastic macro opportunities. We are part of the reef field. We are the first reef field station here, and we regularly do surveys, which we'll talk about. But rest assured, there's all types of photographic opportunities, including scorpionfish, frogfish, things that are more difficult to spot, but know that our guides are fantastic and going to help you with that. So hopefully I've intrigued you enough about the island and our diving. So now it's time to toot our own horn a little bit about us as a dive center, because we all know when we travel that it can make a difference of a good dive trip or a great dive trip, the type of service or guides that you have. Starting with when you're interested in Saba, one of the reasons I've worked with weavers I've known Steve for over 30 years, Lisa and Jane for 20 something years. they know the island, but of course they represent so many different destinations, they can't know every little thing about every destination. So we answer our email very promptly, or they call us, and we also all understand that when you're in the mood to book a trip, you don't want to wait a day or two. If you're in the mood to book, you want answers. So we are all about getting you quick answers. We can make any dive package as comprehensive as you'd like, easy payments through Weavers, and they will reinforce that we have a fantastic reputation. We've been in business over 35 years. We've got tons of return clients. We do more than 20 groups a year. In essence, and to say it briefly, we just get it. So that's enough about tooting our own horn. Not so different than Weavers. We have a nice retail shop. So if you forget things, or some of our clients wait to buy their clothes because they know they get quality, great clothing at Saba. And of course, it's where we have access to our clients. So we positioned our retail office within paces of most of the hotels and rental houses on the island, not down at the harbor, but close by, so that we can help you. We can make dinner reservations for you, or talk about what you saw on the dive, because often we are living vicariously through your daily diving. We're full service, so we do a lot of things that aren't directly related to diving. If you rented a villa or a house, we can provision it. We do these sort of things free of charge. If you have a special birthday or a surprise you want, those are fun things for us. And here's the important stuff you're looking for. Yes, we have 2 nice dive boats. They are custom-made dive boats set up just for diving. They're not a converted fishing boat. We'll show you more about that in a second. We make the logistics easy, because on Saba you have to travel about 15 minutes from where you are staying to the harbor. So it's done in a comfortable van with a courteous driver, and we don't have a glamorous marina yet, but we make getting on and off the boat easy, and we're going to help you with everything that you need. You can see this was not a pose shot, because yeah, it looks like a dive boat, stuff all over the place. We have sturdy platforms and ladders. We do nitrox unlimited for just $59, even if you come for 2 or 3 weeks. We make analyzing easy, fast, and efficient. We have sturdy deep water ladders, freshwater hose on the boat to make you comfortable. And there's several ways to get off the boat. Only one way to get back on the boat, unless you have superpowers. When we talked about the Saba Marine Park, the other thing that was established in the 80s is that all of our dive sites have permanent moorings. Even if we do a drift dive, you're going to start on a descent line and end on an ascent line. So it's not wild, out of control diving. So you can always have a comfort level. These are a few logos to represent what we are. So we are a PADI 5-star facility, which means we adhere to the highest standards in the industry. We're also an SSI facility. I'm going to tell you about the See and Learn program as we get on in our show. And we are, there's no longer the affiliation between National Geographic and PADI. So rightfully, I'm probably not allowed to show that logo, but I feel it's important because it's what we're about. We're not just a dive shop. We really do believe in protecting the environment. And we love teaching people to dive, because we feel that every time we teach someone to dive, we are making them an advocate for the environment. We do fantastic dive briefings. And as I said, we've got an all-instructor crew that is never condescending, always helpful. And we are going to be as involved or uninvolved in your dive as you like. If you can demonstrate to us that you're a very experienced diver and comfortable and not breaking any rules, we'll let you do your own dive. We have a freedom policy, and we can go over those points when you're here. But most people find that they are fantastic guides, so they want to dive with the guide, so they can explain what you're seeing. We also do things like we can teach you how to do fish surveys. How to monitor the reef. These are programs we also do with teenage groups, and we have specialty courses you can do if those sort of things interest you. We always have photographers who work for us, so we can help you take better pictures or rent you cameras, whatever you're looking for. So what else is there to do on a little island like this? Well, you'll be surprised. It's not, again, not a typical island where you've got, live, 10 bars with live music or all kinds of water sports, but we have different things. So we have outstanding hiking. We have 30 different hiking trails, and they are well marked. And again, in those different climate zones, you're going to see different types of flora and fauna depending on what side of the island you are and what elevation. We have fantastic naturalists and guides at very reasonable prices. And much of the hiking is very easily accessible on your own. And then there's nightlife. So what do you do for nightlife on Saba? Well, our dive groups can obviously make their own fun, but if you're traveling as an individual, part of what is delightful of Saba is that safe, nice community feeling. And you could go into a bar on your own and walk out as friends. And that goes even for single women. It's a very safe place. Certainly you'll get attention if you want attention, but it's the sort of place where you can walk around by yourself at 11 o'clock at night without a worry. And what else is there to do on Saba? Well, you can just hang out in a hammock and relax. There is a full service spa. There are loads of artists and artist groups that you can join for painting and other crafts, which we'll explain. We also have the age-old art form of Saba lace, so you can actually learn a new craft while you're on Saba. We have Jo Bean, the famous hot glass artist, and she does demonstrations and classes, and you could bring home your own souvenirs that you made out of hot glass. This is a newer thing on Saba. There are regular get-togethers with different local artists, and there are names like Cork and Canvas, Toast and Textiles. So yeah, you can always have a glass of wine or a drink with it, but it's fun, it's interesting, and you get to be the creator along with the creator. These are just some examples. There's a shop called Kokona, which is part of the experience of Saba. It's adjacent to our dive shop, and this is where local artist work is showcased. There's other reasons to come to Saba at different times of year. So if you are active, like I know many people in Colorado are, we have the Saba Triathlon, which gets more participants each year. It's always in the month of January, so you can check in with us for that. And it's called the Hell's Gate Challenge, where even the swim is uphill. Bit of humor there. Saba's Carnival is normally the last weekend of July every year. Some people think it's a reason to come to the island. Some people find it a reason to not be here. It can be wild cultural fun. There's an unwritten labor law that says we cannot fire a local during carnival time for not showing up for work, if that gives you any idea. Something we're proud of and more in line with what we feel is important is See and Learn. And this is a program I started in 2003. Every October, we bring in 14 scientists from around the world. We have won 3 international awards for this program, and it makes October one of our busiest months of the year. Unfortunately, this year is the first time that we are going to have to pause and not run the program for the obvious COVID reasons, but we still have availability for 2021. So we bring in 14 scientists. Some are terrestrial, the majority are marine scientists, and it's all about hands-on learning. So the slogan is enhance your environmental awareness. So you can choose to participate or not. It's fun, it's free, it's for everyone. And we also involve our local community. So it's about getting out and participating and learning as you go and being excited and intrigued about science. This is one of our shark experts. Every year we have a different shark expert as one of our subjects. You can do things from coral transplants to doing a night hike with a bat expert. The venues, so every other night, so there's activities going on throughout the month. Every other night on a large screen at a different bar or restaurant, outdoor or semi-outdoor, these dynamic presenters give fantastic presentations. In the last few years, we've also included our seniors. And this is actually fun for those scientists because our locals are very knowledgeable. So sometimes the scientists are learning from them. And it's part of our school curriculum. So sometimes they're in the classroom, but for the most part, what we love is we get the kids out of the classroom. and taking them to the ocean, to the forest, to the coastline, to understand the value of the nature on their island and to learn to respect it and understand why it's important. And obviously, when we reach out to these young stakeholders, it can make a difference in the long run. The other event each year is Saba Day weekend, and that's the first weekend of December. And that's based on a sustainable Wahoo tournament. Fishing boats come from other islands, and there's lots of parties. And a few times, this is the bottom left corner there, that is the Dutch King and Queen. And they came to Saba 2 years ago, and we got to take them diving. And I also took the king diving when he was a teenager. So again, only on a small island do you have this type of access. So if you're interested, let's take the next step and talk about where would you stay on Saba? Well, that's a hard choice because there's some really cool options. Again, we are not a typical destination. We don't have high-rise hotels. I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to use your Hilton Honors points or your Marriott points because we don't have them. But we've got really cool different things. So let me just give you a few ideas. So at the lower budget end of our spectrum is El Momo Cottages. And you can see the nightly prices here. These are all prices based on 2 people. So that's the per night room rate. And this is a place based on what they call European style sleeping cottages. For people who say, you know, I'm spending my money on diving and hiking and going out for dinner. All I'm gonna do in my room is sleep. Well, look at this, not a bad deal. And this is the view from El Momo Cottages. The Cottage Club is some of our best value. So the $130 is summer rate and $150 is the winter rate. And this has this beautiful large pool area, great views, large rooms, each with a full kitchen. So how about that for value? Next is Queen's Gardens Resort, which is considered our luxury property on Saba. Look at that price for what you get. They're all suites. And if you book through via Saba, obviously through Weavers it works as well. This property has a stunning, this is the spa, and they also have a fantastic bar area. This is the pool with the bar above it. And if you book with us, we can normally get you an upgrade to a suite that has its own private jacuzzi that opens out to the open air. It's also got a yoga deck, and they're famous for their mixologist who does gin tastings with 150 types of gin. Even people who think they don't like gin and tonics will love Queen's Gardens gin and tonics. And then we have private homes and villas. Here, the first couple photos are 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom places that start at $225 a night. And this is places where you can go with a family or 2 couples, and fantastic views, great access, many of them with private pools. Whatever level you are looking for, it's really available on our little island. I've saved Juliana's Hotel for the last. This is our most popular property. This shot is taken with a drone from the cliffside of Juliana's. So the buildings in the forefront are Juliana's Hotel. Beyond that is Windward Side, our main village. So I'm about a block away from that right now. So this is also trying to show you how easy it is to access the village, different bars, restaurants. This is a photo of a standard ocean view room at Juliana's. All the rooms have been refurbished within the last few years. They have air conditioning, very nice modern bathrooms. This is Orchid Cottage. So Juliana's has standard rooms, suites, and cottages. So if you're a family, or again, maybe 2 couples who want to hang out and have more living space, there's every option. This is one of their suites, Mango Suite. This is the nice outdoor sitting area between the rooms. And this is one of their new Captain's Suites, which were just opened last year. At Juliana's Hotel, they have their own art studio. So as an artist, there's a place for you to work, and this is also where a lot of those art workshops are held. But if you've been to Juliana's Hotel or know anything about Saba, part of the attraction is the bar and Wim. This guy's a real character and a fun bartender, and it's a great place to hang out. So I'm guessing that most people tuned in this evening are living in North America. When you're considering in these kind of crazy times, geez, where am I going to go next? Well, hopefully you will think of Saba as a super safe destination. We call it an exotic alternative, so it's not too far away from home. So let's zero in on where we are. So obviously we're located in the Caribbean, and now you can say, oh, I've been there, I've been there, I've been there. Well, where is Saba? Well, we are just 28 miles south of St. Martin, and that's where we're located right there. To access Saba, you must fly to St. Martin. It is our gateway, and it is a major hub. So I know there's a lot of people here from Colorado, and know that every major airline flies into St. Martin. So United, Delta, American, JetBlue, Spirit, and from Europe, KLM, Air France, TUI, some different charters. So no matter who you have airline points with, you should be able to get to Saba. So getting via St. Martin, and then we are a 12-minute flight. This is the international airport at St. Martin, so a big, proper modern airport. And this is the cockpit. So there's, you can take this picture yourself, because when you fly to Saba with Win Air on a de Havilland Twin Otter, the safest aircraft ever made, you fly into the world's smallest international airport, and that's when the adventure begins. If you really can't handle that, we have 2 ferries. So the Dawn 2 ferry travels to Saba on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and the Edge ferry works if you overnight in St. Martin. So as I close, I'm just going to give you a sunset photo or two. I think I've done all right with my timing, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions directly or via Lisa, however it works. And here's my slide to, again, thank you to Weavers, and at the bottom you'll see their website and their phone number. So take it away, Lisa.
Oh, awesome. Lynn, I want to go back.
Okay, you're ready.
It really, honestly, I mean, the pictures were spectacular, but they just don't do the island justice. It has one of the most quaint, homey, welcoming feelings you will have anywhere in the Caribbean. And as Lynn said, it's got so many pluses that you just can't get in very many islands anymore, in terms of just no crime and no bugs, and it's just a charm, all unlike anywhere I've ever been. So that's just the top side attraction. The hiking is to die for. So when you're not diving, you certainly have a lot of other activities to do when you're there. So just a couple questions, Lynn, is best time of year to be there, or is there one that's better than the other in terms of when to come to Saba?
So I didn't say, I've lived on Saba for over 30 years. And that's the one question I can't answer. We used to be able to answer that better, but now weather is so much less predictable. What I can tell you is we dive 363 days a year, which means there ends up being normally 2 days a year where for some reason we can't dive, and could be in the winter, could be in the summer. It's cooler in the winter, both air temperatures and water temperatures. So our water temperature in the winter is going to be between 77 and 80, depending on what month you travel. Cooling off starting in November, warming up again in April. Oftentimes, that translates to better visibility with water temperatures. What we love about Saba is the fact that we don't need air conditioning, especially in the winter. It can drop down to 65, 70 at night. So we wear long sleeves and long pants. So it's a nice change, but it's always at least in the 80s during the day. So it's pretty nice. I think that's as best as I can answer that.
No, yeah, that's perfect, because the other question was water and air temperature. So you got that as well. Thank you. The majority, you did say that there is some drift diving, but the way that it's done is typically you'll drop people on one mooring. They will drift, and then the boat moves to a second mooring and they get picked up on the boat there. As I recall, that was kind of how you did any of the current or drift dives.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll do a drift dive just as a fun way of seeing more of an area. There are places where we can't drift dive, so out on those pinnacles, yeah, you can't drift dive that. But when we do it safely and in a controlled manner.
Yep. And then can you tell us again, how long is the ferry on the Dawn?
The Dawn ferry is 90 minutes.
90 minutes. Okay, perfect. And then you didn't get a chance to talk too much about the food, and I can just interject right here that for a small island, the number of restaurants and the level of food is amazing. Some of the most delicious and spectacular food I've had anywhere, regardless. I mean, even top chefs in different parts of the world are as good as we found in Saba. So Lynn, that is something that's quite accessible, right? There's a lot of different restaurants and to choose
Yes,
from.
and shame on me because that should have been mentioned when I was showing some of those images. Yeah, the fun thing is there's everything from great burgers and pizza to top end. And top end is $35 to $40 entrees. So, you know, considering that everything has to be double imported in Saba, that's very reasonable prices. When I mean double imported is, yeah, first any of those food items has to get to the main island of St. Martin and then it has to come to Saba. But it's almost a competition among the restaurants. All the chefs are friends and they just outdo each other. So it's pretty great stuff.
Yeah, it is. I can attest to that. I just was blown away. I mean, I had forgotten how spectacular the food is there. So, and then in terms of just, you guys are kind of a little bit in the hurricane belt, but as you said, it sounds like you only have 1 or 2 days a year typically that you can't dive. So it sounds like it's not something that you typically worry about as much in terms of the tropical depressions and everything.
You know, we are in the hurricane belt, as we say. You know, obviously it can happen. You know, we're lucky this year, and when it doesn't, this year is typical of what can happen. You know, when those storms are out there and they're not coming anywhere near you, that's what makes this flat, calm weather. You know, we have good return clients who say, I come in September, and yeah, there's a risk there, but it's also the best diving when there's no problem. So, but yeah, you know, we're about honest and reasonable expectations.
Yeah, good. That's exactly what you do. So excellent. I really appreciate it, Lynn. Again, for anybody that's interested, we book quite a bit with this island, and there's lots of different accommodation levels. It's just one of the most unique diving experiences you can have anywhere, from their shallow reefs to the pinnacles. Sea Saba does a spectacular job. Lynn and John have been there forever, running one of the best dive operations I've ever worked with. So I encourage you all to visit their website, and if you have any questions, please give us a call and let us know if there's anything we can do for you. So I think that's all in terms of what I have for you. Steve, are you ready to spin the wheel? Oh, Lynn, before I forget, can you mention what your prize is that you're giving away for us?
We're giving a 2-for-1 for a week of coming to Saba. So that's a full 7 nights at Juliana's Hotel at least an ocean view room, and 5 days of diving, 2 dives a day. We always leave a day open to explore the island. That includes getting to and from the airport or the ferry dock, getting to and from the boat each day, daily breakfast. So you would just need to worry about some of your meals and drinks, and we will show you a great time. And thank you for all that input. So
great, excellent. All right, Steve, take it away.
That's great, Lynn. Thank you so much. Just to add a couple of things, I think Lynn and John, you were in your teens when you moved there, right? You started the dive center.
No, I was only 5.
Because I think I was only 15 when I first came there and visited you guys. So
it's all this time in the sun that makes me look so old.
But I think one of the things that comes to my mind when I think of Saba is, aside from the great diving, great food opportunities, etc., is the charm. The people on that island are so charming. The scenery is so picturesque and beautiful. I've always joked about the fact that when we've taken groups there, within 24 hours, every local person on the island knows who you are. They don't know your name necessarily, but they know you're that group from Boulder, or, you know, they know something about you. It's that small of a community, very, very charming. And it's an experience like you don't have in a lot of places because of that, I think. So highly recommend that people check it out. It's amazing diving, beautiful island, great people, wonderful place to visit.